To this now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio kicking off his trip to the Middle East with a high-stakes meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The hostage situation in Gaza at the top of the agenda for the pair. 3 more Israeli hostages are now free thanks to Phase 1 of the ceasefire deal. But negotiations for that all-important Phase 2 appear to be stalling, despite Netanyahu announcing today he will convene the Security Cabinet to talk about the matter. And it may also now fall to Secretary Rubio to really kind of jumpstart these talks. But the hostage situation is only part of the equation going on in Gaza, right? The question also of what to do with nearly 2 million Palestinians living in the war-torn territory. I mean, look at this awful devastation there, looming large over the secretary's visit. So President Trump's proposal also to relocate the population of Gaza, drawing fierce opposition from Arab states, worried that such a move could bring even further instability to the Middle East, a matter Secretary Rubio is certain to be talking about. Joining us now is the former ambassador to the EU and member of the Council on Foreign Relations, Ambassador Gordon Sondland. Ambassador, appreciate you being here.
Glad to be with you.
And Secretary Rubio speaking at a joint press conference with Prime Minister Netanyahu earlier. Let's take a listen.
The president's been very clear. Hamas cannot continue as a military or government force. And frankly, as long as it stands as a force that can govern or as a force that can administer or as a force that can threaten by use of violence, peace becomes impossible.
Hamas is a terror group. Do you agree? Is it impossible to have a long-lasting peace, the ultimate goal there, if Hamas is in power?
Oh, Hamas cannot be in power under any circumstances. Hamas is not a government. Hamas is not a community. Hamas are killers. And the sad part about this is there has to be some relocation, even if temporarily, for the Palestinians so that 2 very important things can occur in Gaza. The first is Hamas has to be completely eradicated down to the very last person. And when I say eradicated, I really mean killed, because they're not leaving voluntarily. And the second thing that has to happen is the tunnel system has to be completely disabled and destroyed. Until those 2 things happen, everything that happens in Gaza will be unstable, both for Israel and for the rest of the Arab community. It might mean that the Palestinians that are currently there have to be moved to one part of Gaza or the other. They might have to be moved out of Gaza temporarily, but one way or another, Gaza has to be cleaned out.
All right, so we are in Phase 1 still right now, but we're coming toward the end of it. As we go toward Phase 2, what would happen is the remaining hostages would be released. If the ceasefire deal that's we're currently looking at doesn't crumble, it would become permanent, and then all Israeli forces would withdraw. Then if we can teeter on and get all the way to Phase 3 of the ceasefire deal, the remains of the dead hostages would be returned. We're not sure how many realistically are even still living. And then the reconstruction of Gaza would begin. So what do you think that is going to look like? I mean, it looks uninhabitable from what I can see here. What happens?
Well, it is uninhabitable, and I'm actually very worried about the hostages because I have a hard time believing that if Gaza knows its existence is numbered in terms of days or weeks, whether they in fact will give up all of the hostages. The hostages, unfortunately, might become a casualty of war because I don't believe that if Hamas knows that when the last hostage walks out of there, they're done. They're gone. They will not exist any longer. So what has to be done here is that we have to get as many hostages out as possible. We have to finish Hamas off, and then the reconstruction can begin. And I think President Trump's idea of turning Gaza into a Riviera, while many say it's not practical, what it did was it had the immediate effect of really moving the Arab nations. Because the other thing President Trump has said is, if you don't like my plan, what's yours? Mm-hmm. And when he says what's yours, he doesn't mean 5 years from now or 10 years from now. He means tomorrow. What's your plan tomorrow? And so far, no one has put a credible plan on the table except for President Trump. So we're all waiting.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.